Hi everyone, this is your favorite friend Jay or Jaylan Salah as you formerly know her, film critic at Geek Vibes Nation and In Session Film. Today I had the pleasure of interviewing director, writer Kirsten Foe on her new dark romantic musical film, Off the Record. Kristen, I gotta tell you, first of all, thank you for agreeing to talk to me.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for having me.
I was blown away. This is a cautionary tale for talented women. I'm not just saying in the arts, but this is a very important film, and I really want all my girlfriends to watch it. So, what brought this story to you, or how did you reach it?
Well, first off, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And yeah, I came up in the stunt industry, which is a very male-dominated industry, and I wanted to tell a story about a woman. We show up to work, we want to do our best, and we want to not be bothered, right? And unfortunately, as women, quite often that's not the case. And I want to show, the fight for our dreams, as quite often we have all these extra hoops put in front of us. And I wanted to show a story of a woman navigating that and winning, because I feel like right now it's very important, especially as women growing up. I was very often told I was too loud, or I needed to be quiet, or just kind of blend in, whatever it is, right? And I think we need to question that. When people tell us to be quiet, we need to understand why our voices aren't, why they don't want our voices as part of that conversation. And I think sometimes we need to get even louder. And in Aster's case, it's like, she could have given up and just said, wow, this really sucks. These people are terrible and I don't want to deal with this. And unfortunately, I think a lot of women do. A lot of women walk away from things that matter to them, their dreams, and because they shouldn't have to put up with all this. And there's a certain amount of choices that we have to make sometimes that I wish we didn't. So yeah, I wanted to tell that story, and I wanted to show, what it looks like for a young woman to fight for her dreams and come out the other side with a victory.
Especially, I think if young women are not well resourced or they enter an industry where they have no one or they don't have, the backup of, let's say, rich parents, nepotism, all of these things that make it easier for a woman to know how to read contracts, how to navigate that world. But you showed that perfectly. Being out there solo on your own is just difficult.
Lawyers are expensive, right? Like if you can barely pay your rent, how can you afford a lawyer? And, unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that, they know that there's a lot of young women that come, especially to a town like Los Angeles, with these stars in their eyes and these dreams. And, they prey on that. And it's so unfortunate. And you see, especially with the music industry, so many of these stories of women who signed contracts when they were very young. And Taylor Swift is a great example, because she got to a place where she had enough power that she could use her voice to tell this story. But there's so many women that don't have that power. And if they tried to speak up, they're just going to get squashed. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's hard to see.
The casting for the film was just amazing because Ryan Hansen is very, he's not your overt, I'm a toxic boyfriend. He's really charming and he's very cute. And I remember him from earlier roles. So, and of course, Rainey is just amazing. So, how did you get the casting so right on point?
And we really, with Ryan especially, we needed to make sure that we didn't have a real Brandon, right? Like we wanted him to be someone.
Sweetheart.
We had like so many females on this set. Like I wanted a lot of department heads to be female. So we didn't need someone to be, abusive and brooding on set. So Ryan, he is the nicest guy. We call it his golden retriever energy. He's just always, fun and dancing and singing. And so, it was important to me to like illustrate that idea of like, it's harder to believe that when we like someone that they're bad, right? Like they're doing bad things. I mean, I actually had Aster say that in the movie. And so I think a lot of women have experienced this where, we'll be dating someone, or we know someone where they do all of these really kind, considerate things. And so when there are the red flags, it's like, well, it just doesn't make sense. Maybe I'm embellishing, maybe I'm overreacting, whatever it is that we tell ourselves, we ignore these things because, I mean, like I said, these guys aren't puppy kickers. Like they're not going to just come out and be jerks, because no one's going to, go into the orbit then, right? They've got to like pull you in somehow. And so, yeah, for Ryan to already have that, because we wanted the character to be kind of a shapeshifter where, I wanted it to feel, because I've been in these relationships myself where you just get so swept up and things are moving so quickly. And then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, what happened? Like, how did we get here? Right. And, I think even as the audience, you feel a little bit that way because that's how these things happen, right? I've read a lot of real stories. I mean, there was a story in Hollywood that came out a couple of years ago where this guy's literally taking women out to the desert. It was like the same hotel he took them all to, showed them all the same movie. It was this Hollywood actor. And then, we'd already started filming this, and I was like, oh, that's so strange that it's literally the same location. But to me, it was also just like, no, this is true. It's like you can, get swept into this world where your world is no longer even in sight, right? And it's just, yeah. So that's where, of course, mom and best friend come in with like the reality check of like, hey, don't forget who you are here, right? Like, don't get so caught up in him that you lose you, which a lot
And
of times we
listen,
do.
exactly. Listen to the women in your life. Don't keep questioning yourself as women. Unfortunately, it's ingrained in us to think we're wrong. Oh, maybe I overreacted. Oh, maybe I didn't. Kind of like trust your instinct and the people around you. I felt this was very obvious too in the film.
Yeah, I mean, such a strong message is that, I think we need circles of women that we trust, but we need to listen to them and allow them to be honest with us because that's how we grow, right? And, it can be tough sometimes to hear, like, I don't think you're making smart choices, but those people like that view from the outside, it's very valuable. And yeah, I hope also though that women watch this, they can kind of maybe forgive themselves and be a little more gentle with themselves as far as like, some of the past relationships. Like, I wish I could go back and tell younger Kirsten not to put up with as much as she did because I put up with way too much. But there's a lot of manipulation and there's a lot of psychology that goes into love bombing. And, especially when it's older men going for younger women, like they know what they're doing. And, a lot of times these young women, it's like, listen, to wrap something evil up in love is awful, right? Like when we feel love, that is such a positive thing. And for someone to use that to manipulate us, that's the worst, I think.
Nothing worse, nothing worse. So I want to talk about the soundtrack because the original songs there, and when you have like Rainey writing and performing songs, how was that? Because I feel like this added weight to the film. It's not just a story about, like a toxic relationship. It's actually a story about art too, at the heart of it.
Well, and so this is when I get to rave about Rainey, which is great because she was the perfect Aster. I mean, she came into this with so much enthusiasm, so many ideas, and most importantly, songs. She just started writing songs right from the beginning. And, her voice is just absolutely incredible. The scene where she performs in the desert, we just filmed that as is. We didn't use a click track. And I mean, that was the first time Ryan had heard her sing. And I think a lot of his reaction was real. It was like, oh my gosh, like, look at this. But her own experience in a lot of ways mirrors Aster's as far as just, fighting for, to build a name, fighting to, be seen outside of these other boxes people want to put her in, right? As being a daughter, a sister, etc. And like finding her own light and her own place. A lot of the places we filmed, she was like, oh, this is really weird. I've performed here before. So yeah, I think there's probably times where like reality kind of blurred a little for her, which works really well because, obviously as if you're having someone trying to find something to tap into, we couldn't have had a better character. Yeah.
Okay, Kirsten, my final question is you've had a professional stunt woman career and now you're directing and writing. How do you find yourself as both like a talented woman in both domains? Which is more difficult? Which was more enriching for you? I just want to hear your story because it's so inspiring.
Oh, well, thank you. It's funny. I'm still doing stunts. I actually spent the summer stealing cars with Charlie Hunan, which didn't suck, and for a new show called Criminal. So yeah, I love the stunt world so much. I've always have, and there was always a feeling for me where, I was quite often playing victims and I was playing these women that didn't get a voice, didn't get a chance to fight back. And I just there was a need for that in my mind. And so, I always wanted to be more involved with creating the characters, not just playing them. But I think because I've been in both worlds, it's really valuable. And I also just, as far as creating an environment that's safe and that everybody feels comfortable, because I know that like that's when people can do their best work, and safety is so near and dear to my heart coming from stunts. So, I feel like we were able to really like create this magical set where people were able to come in and do their best work. But yeah, my next project actually probably will have a little bit more action in it because I have so much respect for action choreography and especially female athleticism. So the next project is about women in snowboarding, and it's really going to give me an opportunity to show off some of the incredible stuff that some athletes are doing. So yeah.
Wow. Kirsten, thank you so much for talking to me. This was a great conversation. Can't wait for everyone to watch the film.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.